Do you feel like your to-do list is a never-ending treadmill? And then we're told that the answer to feeling better while we're doing it all is something like massages or appointments that help us take care of ourselves, but actually are just one more item on our never-ending to-do list? All of this advice we're getting is just piling up on our never-ending to-do list. And the problem is that we're exhausted and we're burnt out and we're following an old model of self-care that no longer works in the way that the woman of today is living her life. It's time for us together to create a new model and a new path for ourselves. The truth is, this new way is amazing. The truth is, this new way does not involve more to-dos. It isn't about more tasks. It's not about trying to find that time in your busy schedule when you can carve out an hour, duck out of your life, and schedule a self-care appointment. These appointments feel good in the moment, but they really are just like a duck out of our life, and then we pop right back into the same chaotic routine and schedule that we've been living for years or decades, and we wonder why we feel the way that we feel. This new model isn't about adding one more to-do. It's about changing the way that we move through our day. Picture getting to the end of your day and actually feeling satisfied. Imagine putting your head on the pillow at night, knowing that you got everything done on your to-do list, but here's the kicker. You got it done in a way that felt amazing. You had fun, you felt present, you felt calm, connected, peaceful, and most importantly, you had beautiful moments with those that you love. You were able to stop the go, go, go and fully be with the person in front of you. If this doesn't sound like magic to you, I don't know what does. Imagine this new path. Instead of more to-dos, it's inviting you to pause, to check in, to take a moment in making one of the many decisions that we make in our lives and ask, what is it that we actually want? What is it that feels good, instead of what we usually ask ourselves, which is, what is it that I should do in these moments? This new path is all about the being rather than the doing. And when we take this new direction, we finally feel like we're being magically pulled through our day rather than trying to bust through and push through it. Okay, imagine this. In every day, in every scenario where you are making decisions in your life, and studies show that we make about 30,000 conscious decisions a day. That doesn't include the subconscious decisions that we make just while we're like asleep, not paying attention, or living out a program. 30,000 conscious decisions a day. So picture at any given time when you're making one of those decisions, you're sitting at a fork in the road. And this is, I want you to like really visualize this for yourself. In my private community, we've been drawing this path together. On the left is the path that you've always known. This is the path of overdoing. This is the path of doing what you should do. This is the path of overscheduling, overcommitting, saying yes based on resentment, not just saying yes when it's a hell yes. This is the path where you feel guilty if you're not constantly taking steps towards what's productive. This is the path that for many of us women is all too familiar, but it's also what has paved the road for us feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, and stressed. What if just for a moment at this fork in the road, you paused and you took a moment to consider the path to the right? You took a moment to consider the right path. This path is softer, calmer, and in the moment before you take steps on this path, you're asking yourself what actually feels right in this moment. You're tuning into that little voice that's become a whisper that's chiming in with what you actually want. This new path to the right isn't all about getting it done. It's about showing up differently. It's about stopping in that fork in the road, and instead of running on autopilot, it's constantly checking in and asking ourselves, what feels right to me in this moment? The first step, the simple first step in paving this new path is awareness. It's taking a pause, becoming conscious and aware of making the decision rather than, again, running on autopilot, running on our programming, and continuing to simply just do what we think we should do. The same things that we've continued to do that have gotten us to this place of exhausted, overwhelmed, trying to get it all done, and rinsing and repeating at the end of the day before we get ready to start the next one. This is not what our life is meant to be. There is so much more joy, playfulness, and happiness out there for us. Has nothing to do with switching up what you're doing. You're still going to get it all done. This is such a beautiful system. because all we're going to change is how we show up and how we're going to start to do it differently. This is my favorite thing to talk about. I want to really keep this super simple because I think this is where our brains can get excited as women, and then we do the yeah buts. Okay, that sounds great, but what's going to happen when I take the next steps? Or what's going to happen after that when I don't do this thing? In this moment, I simply want you to start with this awareness and starting to make conscious decisions first with the check-in of what you want. Because what's going to start to happen is magical. And you've just got to take that first step to be able to experience the rest. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And this path is not simply about doing it all. This is a path about finally, I'm crying, being true to yourself and who you are and taking a step with that thought in mind. Maybe this is simply taking a deep breath or a pause before hitting send on that email. Maybe this is a simple 3-second check-in with yourself before you say yes to showing up for someone else when you really needed that time for you or your family. This is about making decisions from a place of alignment rather than autopilot. We know what we're doing isn't working. It's not working for us, and it's not working for our loved ones. So it's time to try something different. All right, so I just want to go back. I teased this for a minute, but this is really about taking that first step and trusting that the rest will appear. And I know maybe that sounds like a little woo-woo, or that sounds a little bit out there, but stop and ask yourself, is what you're doing currently working? And if not, why not try? Like, what do we have to lose? So when we're willing to take that one first step, when we're willing to pause at that fork in the road and ask, what is it about this moment that feels right to me? What decision would I make if I was putting myself first? When we take a step in that direction, an invisible hand appears and starts to pull us through life. And hang with me, because again, I know this is going to sound woo-woo, but religions have a name for it. It's God. Spiritual circles have a name for it. It's source. Science has a source for it. It's quantum. This field exists, and I'm inviting you to play in it, whatever you want to call it. And if you don't believe it yet, just start to play. Start to take this first step on maybe the low-hanging fruit or like the easy decisions. And then what you got to do is you got to start to watch for the synchronicities, start to watch for the messages, start to watch for the coincidences in your life. Things like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking of you and you called. Or that's so weird because I would have normally taken this decision in this situation, and instead I took this really weird first step, and then all of a sudden someone showed up for me with the answer to what's supposed to come next. This stuff is real, and life becomes so much more fun when we play in this field. I'm literally living it. I'm doing my best to show you guys all the crazy things that are popping up in my life because I was brave enough to take that first step. Now, for so long, the word manifestation has kind of driven me crazy because I think when we're talking about like creating the life of our dreams or pulling things into our life that we want or desire, I think there's this whole theory of like the parking space where you think of a parking space and magically the parking space appears for you. And I think that's BS. And here's why. Because I think the reality is living this way and taking this path is a little bit scary. And it takes bravery and courage, and it also takes community. And I'm going to talk about that in a bit. So make sure you hang tight because that is the most important piece in paving the right path. When we take this first brave path, what will happen is a red carpet will continue to be rolled out for us. We will continue to be faced with situations, opportunities, signs, and messages that continue to pave out the rest of the path for us. But if you're not paying attention, you're not going to see them. If you're walking around with your face in your phone, you're going to miss everything that's right in front of you. If you're in a conversation, but you're half playing out your past, what you just did an hour ago, or you're thinking about your future to-dos, you're going to miss the things in that conversation that are potentially the signs and signals for the next step for you. So this takes bravery, courage, working on continuing to do the things that help you show up in a different way to take that next step, and also doing the things that help allow you to be present. I don't know about you, but for so long in my life, I struggled so much with being present because I was so used to running 100 miles an hour. And so for me, that is why I spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the morning practicing present time consciousness, practicing being strictly in the moment. I see it for me as a muscle that I have got to constantly train, because as a busy, rushing woman, my natural rhythm is to speed up and be thinking about the future. I'm here in this moment, but I've got to figure out what time I got to be getting the kids. I got to figure out dinner. I got to figure out their pickups. I don't know. Does that resonate with you? Or perhaps if you don't have kids, it's like, okay, I have this work meeting and then I've got to figure out these emails and then I've got to go get the dry cleaning, whatever it is. For me, I have to practice being in that present moment. What that does is it becomes familiar. We crave what's familiar. If we're working on putting ourselves in situations where we're more aware and attuned to what's going on around us, we're more paying attention to the environment, we have got to practice being present. It's a muscle. I flex it every morning through journaling, meditation, magical morning challenges, all the things I talk about on my platform. Those are flexing the present time consciousness muscle, so that when someone's in front of you, you can be fully with them and present. We can shut off this monkey mind. We can get off the hamster wheel and we can be here now. This is, I truly think, how we have it all as women. It's not about doing it all. It's about being it all. And for me, and I'm curious if this resonates with you, what that looks like is being able and having the energy to go, go, go when I need to go, go, go and be in the zone. I have also trained myself to have the ability to stop in any moment and be completely present, always working on it, if someone in front of me deserves or demands my attention, whether that's a loved one of our children, a coworker, or like the checkout clerk at Target. Because fully being present with someone is one of the greatest gifts we can give them. Okay, I know that was a bit of a sidebar, but one of the important things in carving out this right path is the ability to be present after taking that first step, so that you continue to see the next pieces of the red carpet that are rolled out for you. I want to talk about community because community is so important. Before I do, I just want to talk about one visual activity that I had my private community walk through that's really powerful, and I recommend you do as well. I would push pause on this episode, go grab yourself a piece of paper, a pen, pencil. If you want to make it really fun, get some crayons, colors, or markers. This can literally take you a matter of minutes, or you can take it to the next level and really have some fun with it. What I want you to do is literally draw out a visual that you can look at often of two paths, a fork in the road with a path to the left and a path to the right. Go ahead, hit pause, go grab your materials, and then come back to me. Okay, you've got your paper, you've got your pen, pencil, your coloring materials, all the things. Here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and draw out your two paths, a path to the left, a path to the right, and at the bottom of the page, you'll put where they come together at the beginning and create that fork in the road where you decide if you want to continue to take the path on the left or the right path. Now, what I would do is I'd keep this pretty simple, and then you can always go back and elaborate. What I want you to do is I want you to think about words that describe the emotions that you feel when you're on that hamster wheel of doing, and taking the path that we're used to taking as women. This might be words like chaotic, stressed, overscheduled, burnout, overwhelmed. Just write them all down. Once you do that, go ahead and go to the right path. Now pick some descriptive words of feelings that you may feel more of when you start to make decisions based on what feels good to you. And I would imagine you've done this at some point in your life, so maybe even take yourself back to that situation and think about how you felt in that moment or even throughout the day. The goal is to get to the end of our day with a feeling of complete satisfaction. We got it all done. We showed up in a great way. We had beautiful conversations with our loved ones. We were in flow. We had good, fun music on. We had playful energy. We were joyful. Those are some good words for the right path, right? Fun, play, joy, calm, connected, aligned. This is all, again, like we're not changing the amount of things we're doing. We're still getting it all done. We're just showing up in a completely different way. Those words are way more fun to feel throughout our days than the ones that we're used to. All right, if you are enjoying any of this information, take a moment and go ahead and just click that subscribe button for me so that you don't miss any future episodes where I continue to share these powerful tools that you can incorporate into your life to change and uplevel the way that you're showing up. Okay, I want to talk about the key factor in having success in carving out this new path that we all deserve as women, and that is community. I want to share some of the incredible, powerful science behind how important community is in our longevity, in our health span, how good we feel as we age, and in our success in forming new habits. So I'm going to cite an article from the National Library of Medicine on the blue zones. And I want to really hone in on something that's shared in this article about the importance of community in creating the life that we want and increasing our lifespan and health span. If you're not aware, blue zones are geographical areas all over the world where there's an increase in the amount of centenarians, an increase in the amount of people who live to 100 or past 100. And so these geographical areas have become really curious to scientists because they want to know what is the common variable in these areas. There's a great book written on this topic. I can link that below as well. I think they had assumptions on what they were going to find, and their findings surprised them. Typically, when we think about lifespan and health span, our mind instantly would go to genes playing the most important role. Well, what they found is that genes dictated about 20% of a person's likelihood to live past a certain age, where lifestyle and environment dictated 80%. This means we can literally be born with certain genes, and now research in a field called epigenetics proves that those genes can either be turned on or turned off based on our lifestyle and our environment. What does that mean? It means you can be born with genes for certain diseases, but those diseases aren't going to flourish if you don't turn those genes on or off. And what decides if you flip that switch on or off is your lifestyle and environment. This article goes on to describe our environment is not just being where we live. It wasn't the magic of these geographical areas' literal environment. It was the environment that the people in them created around them. And guess what was one of the number one factors in that environment? Community. I love this article because it goes on to say that it wasn't just the community that determined these people's longevity, lifespan, and health span. Again, how good you feel as you age. It was having the right community around you. I think we've all heard things like you're most likely to become like the 5 people around you. This is so important. Community plays such a crucial role, not only in how we age and how we feel, but it also plays a really big role in our habits. There's information on accountability, right? We're more likely to let ourselves down than someone else down. And so when you partner up with someone as you are working on forming new habits, you're going to be more likely to let someone else down than yourself. So if you team up with someone while you're establishing new habits, whether it's working out or starting to read in the mornings, you are going to be more likely to follow through if you team up with someone, if you team up with community. That's why I'm creating these communities for women. That's why one of the communities is our online book club for women. Together, we read a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits, talking all about this. So we read these books together as women, and we have an accountability partner to help us remember to wake up and spend just a few minutes in the morning flexing that present time consciousness muscle by reading the book that we're reading together in Book Nook. Then we gather and have these amazing conversations about how important community is in establishing these new habits. But here's the really cool part. Community becomes really important because as you courageously take that first step and you start to pave out that new path, it's not always going to be butterflies and rainbows. Stuff is going to come up, but stuff has always come up on the left side. So why not try to venture on this new path? But as stuff comes up, it's so helpful to have like-minded community that's committed to growing and being empowered and inspired together, because then you can work through solutions to these scenarios together. For instance, say in the mornings, you want to change things up, and instead of hitting the ground running and going in the to-dos, you decide, because you've heard me talk about it so much, you decide to start to flex that present time consciousness muscle. So you decide to start a practice in the morning of sitting with yourself for 5 minutes or reading a book or journaling or meditating. But then guess what? Your family around you starts to maybe have some pushback. Wouldn't it be a beautiful thing to talk to other women making these positive, powerful changes in their life and maybe bring up your challenge and ask them how they overcame that? Wouldn't it be beautiful to have these conversations with women that are so often the things that we hold inside and don't share with anyone? I read this beautiful quote the other day, and it said, "Sis, is it inflammation or have you been holding in a scream for 20 years?" Think about all the things we've silently suffered with as women that we don't talk about. I don't know, for so long when I had little children, as much as I love being a mom, it's literally what I've wanted to do since I can remember when I was a little girl. I love being a mother. In the few moments where I would vulnerably share with someone how lonely I was and how weird it was because I was literally surrounded by these humans that needed me, but I had this weird sense of loneliness. In hindsight, I was lonely for myself because I totally forgot about her as I was caring about everyone else. But anytime I would finally let it out, which took so much courage, I was met with, "Enjoy it all, it goes too fast." I know that's well-meaning advice, but you know how bad that hurt? And so I just continued to stuff it. I don't know. I mean, I ended up with chronic Lyme, neurological symptoms, chronic fatigue, overstressed, overworked. Like, how much stuff are we holding in that if we could just talk about it with women that have incredibly beautiful solutions and meet us where we are? This is community. This is the power of what we're creating in the beehive. This is a group of women who are ready to carve this new path. We're doing it. We're still getting all our to-do lists done, but we're showing up differently. We are no longer running on autopilot. We are pausing at the fork in the road and making conscious decisions based on what feels right to us. And in this community, we're starting to remember and learn and get back to who that is. Because I think for so many women, we don't even know what we want anymore. We don't even know what feels good to us because it's been so long since someone asked us. This is what we're doing together in this community. In the beehive, we are focusing on who we be. We're going through webinars together. We are reading incredible books together. We are getting to have authors and experts come in. We're participating in live Q&A, vulnerable conversations with experts in a variety of fields, whether it's meditation or breath work or how to get more done in a less amount of time while feeling great. These are beautiful things we're doing together, and I want to invite you into this incredible community. This is a community for accountability. This is a community of women where we are focusing on connection over comparison. This is no longer about what some other woman out there is doing that you feel that you can't do. This is about seeing what another woman is doing, wanting some aspect of that in your life, asking her how she's doing it, and getting the information and resources so that you can do the same in your way. This is a community of encouragement, empowerment, and support. And this is a community full of easy to implement tools and resources for you. I would love to have you in this life-changing community. All you need to do is click on the info and I'll give you everything you need to take that next step. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear any of your feedback, questions, or comments. As always, if there's anyone that you thought of that can benefit from this information, go ahead and click that share button and send it her way. Lastly, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future content, and we'll see you soon.